It has been 3 days since the princess perished, and I have not slept. I do not know that I shall ever sleep again. The Mother is merciful, I have always believed, and the Father above judges each man justly. But there was no mercy and no justice in what befell our poor princess. How could the gods be so blind or so uncaring as to permit such horror? Or is it possible that there are other deities in this universe, monstrous, evil gods, such as the priests of Red Law preach against whose malice the kings of men and the gods of men are naught but flies? I do not know. I do not want to know. If this makes me a faithless Septon, so be it. Grand Maester Benefer and I have agreed to tell no one all of what we saw and experienced in his chambers as that poor child lay dying. Not the king, nor the queen, nor her mother, nor even the archmaesters of the citadel. But the memories will not leave me, so I shall set them down here. Mayhaps by the time they are found and read, men will have gained a better understanding of such evils. We have told the world that Princess Aerea died of a fever, and that is broadly true, but it was a fever such as I have never seen before, and hope never to see again. The girl was burning, her skin was flushed and red, and when I laid my hand upon her brow to learn how hot she was, it was as if I had thrust it into a pot of boiling oil. There was scarce an ounce of flesh upon her bones, so gaunt and starved did she appear. But we could observe certain swellings inside her as her skin bulged out and then sunk down again, as if, no, not as if, for this was the truth of it, there were things inside her, living things, moving and twisting, mayhaps searching for a way out, and giving her such pain that even the milk of the poppy gave her no surcease. We told the king, as we must surely tell her mother, that Aerea never spoke. But that is a lie. I pray that I shall soon forget some of the things she whispered through her cracked and bleeding lips. I cannot forget how oft she begged for death. All the maester's arts were powerless against her fever, if indeed we can call such a horror by such a commonplace name. The simplest way to say it is that the poor child was cooking from within. Her flesh grew darker and darker, and then began to crack until her skin resembled nothing so much, Seven save me, as pork cracklings. Thin tendrils of smoke issued from her mouth, her nose, even, most obscenely, from her nether lips. By then she had ceased to speak, though the things within her continued to move. Her very eyes cooked within her skull and finally burst, like 2 eggs left in a pot of boiling water for too long. I thought that was the most hideous thing that I should ever see, but I was quickly disabused of the notion, for a worse horror was awaiting me. That came when Benefer and I lowered the poor child into a tub and covered her with ice. The shock of that immersion stopped her heart at once, I tell myself. If so, that was a mercy, for that was when the things inside her came out. The things. Mother have mercy. I do not know how to speak of them. They were worms with faces, snakes with hands, twisting, slimy, unspeakable things that seemed to writhe and pulse and squirm as they came bursting from her flesh. Some were no bigger than my little finger, but one at least was as long as my arm. Oh, warrior, protect me! The sound they made! They died, though. I must remember that. Cling to that. Whatever they might have been, they were creatures of heat and fire, and they did not love the ice. Oh, no. One after another they thrashed and writhed and died before my eyes. Thank the Seven. I will not presume to give them names. They were Horrors! Princess Aerea is gone, but not forgotten. The faithful pray for her sweet soul every morn and every night. Outside the septs the same questions are on every lip. The princess was missing for more than a year. Where could she have gone? What could have happened to her? What brought her home? Was Balerion the monster believed to haunt the velvet hills of Andalus? Did his flames start the fire that swept across the disputed lands? Could the black dread have flown as far as Astapor to be the dragon in the pit? No, and no, and no. These are fables. If we put aside such distractions, however, the mystery remains. Where did Aerea Targaryen go after fleeing Dragonstone? Queen Rhaena's first thought was that she had flown to King's Landing. The princess had made no secret of her wish to return to court. When that proved wrong, Rhaena next looked to Fair Isle and Old Town. Both made sense after a fashion, but Aerea was not found at either place, nor anywhere in Westeros. Others, including the Queen and myself, took this to mean the princess had flown east, not west, through the free cities to be beyond her mother's grasp, and Queen Elisane in particular seemed convinced that Aerea was fleeing her mother as much as Dragonstone itself. Yet Lord Rhaego's agents and informers could find no hint of her across the narrow sea, nor even a whisper of her dragon. Why? Though I can offer no certain proof, I can suggest an answer. It seems to me that we have all been asking the wrong question. Aerea Targaryen was still well shy of her 13th name day on the morning she slipped from her mother's castle. Though no stranger to dragons, she had never ridden one before, and for reasons we may never understand, she chose Balerion as her mount instead of any one of the younger and more tractable dragons she might have claimed. Driven as she was by her conflicts with her mother, mayhaps she simply wanted a beast larger and more fearsome than Queen Rhaena's Dreamfire. It might also have been a desire to tame the beast that had slain her father and his own dragon, though Princess Aerea had never known her father, and it is hard to know what feelings she might have had about him and his death. Regardless of her reasons, the choice was made. The princess might well have intended to fly to King's Landing, just as her mother suspected. It might have been her thought to seek out her twin sister in Old Town, or go seeking after Lady Alyssa Farman, who had once promised to take her adventuring. Whatever her plans, they did not matter. It is one thing to leap upon a dragon, and quite another to bend him to your will, particularly a beast as old and fierce as the Black Dread. From the very start we have been asking, where did Aerea take Balerion? We should have been asking, where did Balerion take Aerea? Only one answer makes sense. Recall, if you will, that Balerion was the largest and oldest of the free dragons that King Aegon and his sisters rode to conquest. Vhagar and Meraxes had hatched on Dragonstone. Balerion alone had come to the island with Aenar the Exile and Daenerys the Dreamer, the youngest of the 5 dragons they brought with them. The older dragon had died during the intervening years, but Balerion lived on, growing even larger, fiercer, and more willful. If we discount the tales of certain sorcerers and mountebanks, as we should, he is mayhaps the oldest living creature in the world that knew Valeria before the Doom. And that is where he took the poor doomed child clinging to his back. If she went willingly, I would be most surprised, but she had neither the knowledge nor the force of will to turn him. What befell her on Valeria I cannot surmise. Judging from the condition in which she returned to us, I do not even care to contemplate it. The Valerians were more than dragon lords. They practiced blood magic and other dark arts as well, delving deep into the earth for secrets best left buried, and twisting the flesh of beasts and men to fashion monstrous and unnatural chimeras. For these sins, the gods in their wrath struck them down. Valeria is accursed, all men agree, and even the boldest sailor steers well clear of its smoking bones. But we would be mistaken to believe that nothing lives there now. The things we found inside Aerea Targaryen live there now, I would submit, along with such other horrors as we cannot even begin to imagine. I have written here at length of how the princess died, but there is something else, something even more frightening, that requires mention. Balerion had wounds as well. That enormous beast, the Black Dread, the most fearsome dragon ever to soar through the skies of Westeros, returned to King's Landing with half-healed scars that no man recalled ever having seen before, and a jagged rent down his left side almost 9 feet long, a gaping red wound from which his blood still dripped, hot and smoking. The lords of Westeros are proud men, and the Septons of the Faith and the Maesters of the Citadel in their own way are prouder still. But there is much and more of the nature of the world that we do not understand, and may never understand. Mayhaps that is a mercy. The Father made men curious, some say, to test our faith. It is my own abiding sin that whenever I come upon a door I must needs see what lies upon the farther side. But certain doors are best left unopened. Aerea Targaryen went through such a door.